Well, as the population gradually ages, a lot of people are discovering their hearing isn't as good as it used to be. And so how do we correct that and get back to enjoying life? Audiology Manager for Hearing Solutions, Andreas Seelisch, is here. Hello.
Hi there. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, this is exciting because the technology is improving all the time, right?
Absolutely.
How many of us are dealing with hearing loss?
Hearing loss is far more common than people realize. It starts out a lot earlier than people realize, and so aging is certainly a factor, but so are things like genetics and noise and other things that environmentally affect us. And so by the time we're into our 50s, people should be already thinking about getting their hearing checked. Same way we get our eyes checked, same way we go to the dentist, just routinely to see what's going on.
Yeah, and it's so gradual. Sometimes you don't realize it until someone says, you should go get your hearing checked, right?
Absolutely, and so my life would be a lot easier if hearing declined the way people expected. Most people imagine that a hearing loss is going to show up like the volume of the world getting less and less, and it almost never exhibits that way. Almost everybody is going to retain some good hearing in some frequencies, and so they go around the world feeling that they're hearing soft sounds and therefore they're hearing well, not realizing that certain sounds are getting filtered out. And because it happens gradually, they get used to it, and they don't realize that they're working harder than everybody else is.
What might they mean? What's the first frequency to go?
So it's usually the higher frequencies, and so it rolls off that we start losing higher frequencies before those low frequencies. And how that affects speech is we start losing consonant sounds, S's, TH's, K's, some of those soft consonants that we don't produce as loudly, so they're softly produced, and then they're also higher in frequency where the more hearing loss is. And so we end up losing clarity from speech. It's not that people can't hear speech, they lose clarity.
And they'll say, oh, this TV, and they have to keep turning up the volume, and everyone around them is... Okay, so there are different types of hearing loss. Explain.
Most common type of hearing loss is going to be a nerve-related, a sensory neural hearing loss. That sounds scary and alarming, but that's by far and large the most common type of hearing loss. And that happens as a result of aging, as a result of our genetics, and usually there's a combination of those two things. Noise exposure, as I mentioned, is also sensory neural too.
Those concerts that we love when we're young. Really?
Yeah.
That'll do it?
Unfortunately, yeah. If you are in an environment where you have a sense that it's kind of too loud, it's probably too loud. Yeah.
Well, if there's pain involved, when you're next to the speaker, boy, it can be quite painful.
Absolutely.
What about headphones and all the devices that kids are wearing now? How's that going to impact?
Biggest concern in terms of exposure with noise, with headphones and things like that, is that it's easily attainable now. I mean, people have always, or at least in recent history, have always liked listening to music and being around sound, but it's never been so easy. I mean, we can be plugged into our phone and we can be theoretically listening to music all day, every day, and so that duration is a huge factor. It's how loud the sound is and how long we're exposed to it, and so that's the biggest risk.
Once the damage is done, it's permanent, right?
Unfortunately, and so with all of these nerve-related types of hearing loss, there's no way to undo it again. There's no magic surgery to reverse it, and so those types of hearing loss are permanent. And when we're talking about treatment options, that's why we're talking typically about things like hearing aids.
You've brought some really interesting things for us to look at today. Where do you want to start?
So, I mean, where I'd typically start is people are still talking about hearing aids and thinking about what their grandparents or parents wore, and so we're talking about, you know, great big things and big molded piece in the ear, giant thing behind the ear, and I mean that's decades old. We're not really talking about things like that.
Volume controls and everything.
Hearing aids are sophisticated computer chips at this point, and so they're analyzing the environment. Things like volume and that are not even a factor anymore, and so.
So it was this.
Yeah, and
now it's this.
Now we're talking about something like that, something like this. You know, if I put this in my ear, for example, there's nothing to see.
So
right?
hang on, let's get the shot, and then we'll have a look.
Yeah, I don't know if you
can. You can't. I can't. Certainly from here, I can't see it.
You have to be doing some aggressive.
Just stay there.
Oh, my apologies.
There we go. Yeah. Can't see it. That's great.
So what I often tell people is that the effects of the hearing loss are far more visible than the hearing aid itself. It's far more obvious to be in a social encounter where you're, you know, doing one of these when you should have been doing one of these, or you know, not responding with confidence. That's far more apparent than it is to have something to correct it.
Oh, it's debilitating to feel like you're missing out on life.
Absolutely, and that's the core of it, that I want people living and enjoying the life that they're supposed to be living. I don't want them coping and getting by, but struggling to do so and working harder than all of their peers are.
Indeed. All right, so this is the good news. They're nice and small and getting even smaller. Talk to me about that teeny tiny one there.
this is another solution that we have now. I can show you that. It's a small implantable type of hearing aid, and so the idea here is that the clinician such as myself would implant that into the ear canal. It's deep enough that there's nothing again to see. It stays there for about 3 months at a time, and then
it stays there?
Yeah, it stays in there. You sleep with it, shower, swim, you live your life, and you don't worry about having something in your ear.
Where's the battery?
The battery is embedded within it. That's why after about 3 months we have to take it out again, and it needs to be replaced with a whole new device. But it is another type of solution that wasn't available in the past.
Well, and you brought a demonstration here so
Yeah.
that we can see how you even put that thing in.
So in the clinic, you'd have something like this. I don't know if can you use that. And so that gets implanted into the ear, nice and deep like so, and then it just stays there.
It wouldn't be twisted,
Well,
right?
I can't really see what I'm doing, unfortunately.
Sorry.
There
But
we
we
go.
get the idea.
You get the idea.
Nice and deep. Would we feel it?
You might be aware that there's something there, but it's getting deep enough that you don't have that sense of being plugged. People are worried about having a plugged feeling in their ear, like wearing an earplug, and types of devices like this don't have that plugged feeling. So there may be some awareness, but it's not uncomfortable.
And you'd get used to it, certainly. After a while.
Absolutely.
When you go swimming and you get water in your ear, then what?
This type of device is okay with water, and most devices have become a lot more waterproof. They're still electronics, and we recommend people aren't like diving and going under the water with them, and so we tell people to avoid that, but you can certainly be around water. That's not a problem.
And I know we're not supposed to stick Q-tips in our ears, but
Absolutely.
we do anyway.
Yeah.
So when we're cleaning our ears, do we have to worry about dislodging it?
So if you even look on the Q-tip box, tell people not to put them in your ears because the
It
box
says
says not to,
It
right?
says it right there on the box, but we do it anyway.
I know. So this type of device, you wouldn't want to be putting anything deep into your ear because you would be affecting it. Anything like I've been wearing like that, I mean, certainly you remove that and it's not an issue at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's quite incredible. And we hear now, I mean, people are getting cochlear implants. So when they're born with hearing problems, they can actually create some hearing for these people. It's
fabulous.
Amazing, the technology and where it's gone. What can we do to protect our hearing? What else do we need to know about hearing health?
Oh, I mentioned noise. I mean, noise is one of the only things that we can prevent hearing loss. Because most hearing losses can't be prevented, the only other thing that we can really do is provide stimulation. Our brain is a lot like a muscle. It needs stimulation, and it's healthiest with stimulation. Lots of research is linking that with things like cognitive decline, dementia. Even a mild hearing loss puts people at twice the risk for dementia. Moving that up to a more severe hearing loss, the risk goes up 5 times. And so hearing loss certainly has profound effects in terms of our brain. And hearing aids have been shown to ward a lot of that off. And so a recent article published last year showed that hearing aids prevent the risk of cognitive decline. And so the best thing we can be doing is providing that stimulation to our brain because we know that that's good for it.
And it keeps you connected to the world and
Absolutely.
your friends and your family.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. You can go to the theater and enjoy the show, and you can have conversations with people, even in crowded rooms. It's all possible. For more information, check out the amazing solutions to hearing loss at hearingsolutions.ca. Don't go away. We're going to go back to the kitchen, have some macaroons, and a giveaway.